4.4 Non-Violence and Non-Arrangement, Unit 3. Peace is not only an absolute necessity for us in India in order to progress and develop, but it is also a paramount importance to the world. How can the peace be preserved? It's a question. Question asked in the para, not by compromising with the evil or just injustice, but also not by talking of and preparing for war. Aggression has to be met for its endangers peace. At the same time, the lesson of the last war has to be remembered, and it seems to me astonishing that in spite of that lesson, we go the same way. Every process of marshalling the world two hostile camps participates the conflict which it is sought to avoid. It produces also a terrible fear that fears darkness men's mind and leads them into wrong courses. There is perhaps nothing so bad and so dangerous in life as fear. As a great president of the United States said, there is nothing really to fear except fear itself. Our problem therefore becomes one of lessening and ultimately putting an end to this fear. That will not happen if all the world takes sides and talks of war. War becomes almost certain then. We are a member of the family of nations and we have no wish to shirk any of the obligations and burdens of that membership. We have accepted fully the obligation of membership of the UN and intend to abide by them. We wish to make our fulfill contribution to the common store and to render our full measure of service. But that can only be done effectively in our own way and of our own choice. We believe passionately in the democratic method and we seek to enlarge the bounds of democracy, both of the political and economic planes, for no democracy can exist along it in the midst of want and poverty and inequality. Number 18, our immediate needs are for economic betterment and are rising the standards of our people. The more we succeed in this, the more we can serve the cause of peace in the world. We are fully aware of our weakness and failing and claim no superior virtue, but we do not wish to forget the advantage that our present attachment gives us, and we believe that the maintenance of that detachment is not only in our interest but also in the interest of world peace and freedom. That detachment is neither insolationism or indifference nor neutrality. When peace or freedom is threatened, then man's liberty or peace is in danger. We cannot and shall not be neutral. Neutrality then would be a betrayal of what we have fought for and stand for. If we seek to ensure peace, we must attack the root cause of war and not merely the symptoms. What are the underlying causes of war in the modern world? Number 19, One of the basic causes in the domination of the country by another or the attempt to dominate larger part of Asia were ruled till recently by foreign and chiefly European powers. We ourselves were part of British Empire, as were also Pakistan Cyclone and Burma. France, Holland, and Portugal still have territories over which they rule. But the rising tide of nationalism and the love of independence have submerged most of the Western empires in Asia. In Indonesia, I hope that there will soon be an independent sovereign state. We hope also that French Indochina will achieve freedom and peace before long under a government of its own choice. Much of Africa, however, it subjects to foreign powers, some of whom still attempt to enlarge their uh, dominance. It is clear that all remaining vestiges of imperialism and colonialism will have to disappear. Colonialism means where they live in colonies. Okay. Now see, according to the in check your progress part 3, answer the following questions in one or two sentences. According to the university pattern, you have to see that your answer should not go 5 to 6 lines. As they have asked one or two sentences, you have to just give the answers how the pattern is being asked. Okay, see the question, sub question, answer the following question in one or two sentences. Only that much answer is required. See the question and see the others also. According to Nehru, how can peace be preserved? What produces fear and what is the effect of fear on the minds of men? What does Nehru say about India's responsibility as a member nation of UN? What, according to the Nehru, are Indians' immediate needs? In what way can India benefit from its detachment? What is imperialism? See, at the last para, it is given what is imperialism. And here you will go to the, after page number 35, you will turn your pages to page number 40. See, the question is asked, according to Nehru, how can peace be preserved? See, check your answer, page number 40. In Nehru's opinion, Nehru has given an opinion of peace, that peace can be preserved if we do not make any compromise with injustice and stop talking about war. This is the opinion given by Nehru. Only one sentence answer is there. Only one full stop is there. This is the whole sentence. It is called one sentence. Okay. Only one sentence, one or two, as they have told, one or two sentences. See the answer, how they have given. Only one full stop is given. Means it is a whole one sentence. You have to understand the sentence. Now you have reached PY last class. What is a sentence? If you somebody asks, you should know what is the sentence. From first standard we have learned these things. Okay, still for your last concept, last this thing, you have to remember it. Now what procedure fears and what is the effect of fears on the minds of men? See again, check your answers for your progress. Number 2, Nehru says two hostile groups of nations talk about war, create terrible fear in the minds of men. Such fear darkens their mind and leads them in wrong direction. See, Nehru has said about the critical condition during the war. What does it happens? And you have answered for the answer number 2. What does the Nehru say about India's responsibility as a member nation of UN? Okay, Now Nehru says, as a member of the Union, India will fully contribute to the UN. UN means United Nations programs and offer services when necessary. See, you have to understand some short this thing so that you will be getting the definite long form of the exact alphabet U and N. Okay, you have to remember this in mind while answering. What, according to Nehru, are Indians' immediate needs? According to Nehru, what are the Indians' needs? Indian immediate needs are to provide necessaries of life to the hunger millions and remove inequality. Okay. Now we will go to question number 5. In what way can India benefit from its detachment? India's policy of detachment can allow here to pay attention to economic and social development and concentrate on her own problems. Now, last question, what is imperialism? Imperialism is the dominant of one country over the other. For example, British power over India means our own India was under the British rule. That is called an imperialism. Uh, imperialism means we were under the rule of British. It is called imperialism. So it is very easy to understand, and you have to also from era is given. For example, British power over India before 1947. See, they have given the year. So it is important, 1947. While writing your answer, you have to keep the small things in mind, such as short this thing, short alphabets, years while writing your answers. Okay. Now we will go to page number 35 again and carry forward the 4.5 non-violence and non-alignment part 4 20. Secondly, there is the problem of racial relations. See, they have given the relations now. The progress of some races is knowledge or in invention. Their success in war and conquest have tempted them to believe that they are racially superior, and have led them to treat other nations with contempt. A recent example of this was the horrible attempt, so largely successfully, to exterminate the Jews in Asia and Africa. Racial superiority has been most openly and most insolently exhibited. It is forgotten that nearly all the great religions of mankind arose in the East, and that wonderful civilization grew up there when Europe and America were still unknown to history. The West, point 2021, the West has too often despised the Asians and the Africans, and still in many places denies them not only equality of rights but even commonly humanity and kindliness. This is one of the great danger points in our modern world. And now that Asia and Africa are shaking off their torpor and arousing themselves out of this, evil may come a conflagration of which no man can see the range of consequences. One of our greatest men said that this country cannot exist half slave and half free. The world cannot alone maintain peace it have if half of it is enslaved, and despite the problem is not always simple, nor can it be solved by a resolution or a decree, but unless there is a firm and sincere determination to solve it, there will be no peace. Point 22, the third reason of war and revolution in the misery and want of millions of persons in many countries, and in a particular in Asia and Africa. In the West, thought the war has brought misery and many difficulties. The common man generally lives in some measures of comfort. He has food, clothing, shelter to some extent. The basic problems of the East, therefore, is to obtain these necessaries of life. If they are lacking, then there is the apathy of despair or the destructive rage of the revolutionary. See that this is all an impact, and as in the earlier we have read the progress of some races in knowledge. We are coming to know about the impact of war. Okay, the basic problems, how men lived and what was the impact on them, and what was the reason behind the war. After the war, how the men lived. Political subjection, racial inequality, economic inequality, and misery. Misery, these are evils which we have to remove if we would ensure peace. So man should, means misery is not good. Misery should not should misery means it harms each and every person. If we can offer one remedy, then other crises and slogan make an appeal to the minds of the people. Now see the word according to the minds of people means they were up, not actually they were in the bad condition, miserable condition. Okay. Point number 23. Many of the countries of Asia have entered the family of nations. Now see, many of the countries of Asia have entered the family of nations. Again, some other countries had joined the family of the nations. Nations means UN, as we have learned the U and N short form, United Nations. Your nations belongs to UN only. Okay. We have seen that hopes of the countries of Africa, the change should proceed rapidly, and America and Europe should use their greater influence and power to facilitate it. We see before us vast changes taking place not only in the political and economic sphere, but even more so is in the minds of men. Asia is becoming dynamic again, and in passionate and eager to progress and raise the economic standards of her vast masses. Means you will, from this part, you will come to understand that whenever there was a problem occurred of war and there was a miserable conditions due to this war and all, what happened? The changes immediately took places. The nation was there, but it took a role of making it new things of other countries, which was some good point to on other some circumstances. Means Asia is becoming a dynamic again. See the words, and passionate means the day by day both the sides were effective also and gaining also. This awakening of giant constituent is of the greatest importance to the future of mankind. See the sentence. These awakenings means these were awakened all the times to the people of giant continent. If is of the greatest importance to the future of mankind and require imaginative statesmanship of a high order. Okay. Now, number 24. See again the problems of awakening. The awakening of this awakening will not be solved by looking at if with fear or in a spirit of isolationism by any of us. It requires a friendly and understanding approach, clear objectives, and a common effort to realize them. The colossal expenditure of energy and resource or armaments that is an understanding feature of many national budgets today does not solve the problem of world. Perhaps even fraction of that outlay in other ways and for other purpose will provide a more endure basis for peace and happiness. That is India's view, offered in all friendliness to all thinking men and women, to all persons of goodwill, in the name of our common humanity. That view is not based on wishful thinking, but on a deep consideration of the problems that afflict us all, and on its merits, I venture to place it before you. Okay, now see, we have finished the 4.5. For that, we will go for the question answer. Check your progress. Question number 4. Sub question. Answer the following questions in 1 or 2 sentences. You have to see again that your answer is only in 1 sentence. I will read for the questions, and further you can go for the check the answers on page number 4040, so that you will come to know. Now, what is the problem of racial relations? One race thinking itself to be superior. See the answer on page number 44. Check your answers at the bottom of the page. Other has created the problem of racial relations. For example, white people threat the black or yellow people in an insulating manner. Okay, only this much answer is been. University needs only this much answer in 1 or 2 sentences. Which races feel themselves to be superior and why? White races in European countries consider themselves to be superior because they have made progress in the science and they have won wars. Okay. Now, further, what is the third reason for war that Nehru points out? See the third reason. In Nehru's opinion, again and again, you have to, while writing the answer of Nehru regarding war, he has given an opinion. You have to write, in Nehru's opinion, the third reason of war can be hunger and poverty of millions of people in Africa and Asian countries. Okay. Now, question number 4. Question number 4. Which evils do we have to remove to ensure peace in the world? Which evils do we have to remove? म्हणजे नको त्या गोष्टी आपल्याला कोणत्या काढून नेमक्या घ्यायच्यात जगातल्या. To ensure peace, we must remove the evils of political, which is not necessary, racial and economic inequality. Okay. So for the question number 5, I will read it. What for future of Asia does Nehru predict? Nehru predicts that in Nehru's opinion, in Asia, there is a new awakening. Asian countries are eager to make progress and increase the standards of living. They will become a dynamic force in future. Okay. Now, question number 6. What is Nehru's view about big budgets being spent on the production of weapons? See, what has Nehru criticized? Nehru criticizes the nations for spending large amounts of arms and armaments in his opinion, if even a small part of it is spent for the benefit of the poor, it can bring peace and happiness. See, this is a answer for question number 6. Okay. Now, further, we will go to the point for some words in the chapter. You can read it with the difficult words and phrases. You can go by your own, seeing the difficult questions, words will give you the meaning which are not understood by you. If you don't understand, please look the difficult words and phrases they have given on page number 36. The meaning of the word, if you don't understand it, please see page number 36 for 4.6 difficult words and phrases. Okay. So this is also given in text 1, text 2 format, and text 3 and text 4. Okay. Para numbers also are given. So there is a much good description in the book. Page number 38, critical contemporary. This is also asked. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru occupies a very important place among the Indian English writers. He was one of the few writers who could think and write in English with ease and grace. Walter Crocker, a writer and a critic, has remarked, he wrote and spoke better English than most of us born to the language. See the description of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, that where he was placed, the exact place of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He occupies a very important place among the Indian English writers. He was one of the few writers who could think and write in English with easy and grace. Walter Crocker, a writer and a critic, has remarked, he wrote and spoke better English than most of us born to the language. See, means you should be also a writer and you should be also a critic. This is the exact way of understanding the English. It's both the side you should try to understand. You have reached your TYBA, so this is much necessary. This is a basic part while learning your TYBA year. So in this speech, uh, in the presence of General and so, however, Panditji takes an opportunity of justifying India's policy of non-alignment and the theory of non-violence thought and practiced by Mahatma Gandhi. This is a very well-organized speech. He first expresses his gratefulness to the University of conferring the honorary degree of the Doctors of Law on him. Then he very modestly say that he can come as a seeker of truth who is trying to fit his action to his objectives. This is the theme of right and right means, which he takes up again in the middle of his speech. He thoughts the problem of ideal government, philosopher king, and points out how neither a politician alone nor a philosopher alone can be the ideal ruler. There should be a combination of both. This leads him to the fossil of the past generation of politicians. They invited two wars which causes terrible destruction. He points out how these wars could not bring lasting peace. He concludes that the physical force is not the answer to the problem of the world. Besides, it has become most dangerous on account of atomic weapons. He criticizes two rival groups of nations under Russia and America, amazing more and more destructive weapons and taking about war. This he does in the presence of General Eisenhower. He does not claim any authority to advise other countries, but he points out the method of struggle used by India under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi and how this method has resulted in friendly relations and cooperation between India and England. He maintains that right objective should be achieved by right means. Here he takes an opportunity to justice Indian foreign policy of non-alignment, not joining any rival group of nations. He explains why this disattachment of India is necessary for the better of her people and how it is a positive policy. Now, what is after this, for according to the exam point of view, they can ask in the question, what is the Nehru style of, you can explain it. Please see the answer or just page, page number 39, style of Nehru. Nehru's prose is a model graceful. Means how is the style? Style is graceful. You should mention the word graceful. Prose. In this prose, Nehru's prose is a model of graceful style. How is the style of writing Nehru? It is a model of graceful style. Nehru's prose is a model of graceful style. Why I am trying to make it attempt again and again, so that you will understand the style of writing Nehru's. How is the style? Now, in his style, he has mentioned his attitudes in the objectives and analytical. We can see how his style is suitable for his attitude. How is his style? It is suitable for his attitude. He takes upon a problem, divides into sections, explain it with examples. He has given the examples in his styles and comes to conclusion, and also there is a conclusion. Okay, he is very clear in his idea, means there is a clarity in his ideas, and his clarity is reflected in his writing. For example, read the paragraph on the end and means in his speech. He is very frank and open-minded. Though he claims to be the discipline of Mahatma Gandhi, he frankly tells us we are not worthy of him and we try to follow him. Okay. Nehru is not fond of using the big words of Latin origin. Means Nehru did not use in his prose any big words of Latin origin. His vocabulary is simple. In his prose, very simple, people can understand his English. Even though this is a formal speech. Formal means writing very formally. There is no pompousness in it. This his language and tone expresses his modesty. How was the language? It expressed the modesty and sincerity. He represents himself as a humble seeker of truth. He politely seeks advice of General Eisenhower. He does not wish to impose his views upon others. He politely says, but may I suggest for your consideration? His sentences are in general small, and even if they are sometimes long, they begin with a main clause. So the meaning in the is made clear to us as we go on reading. We do not have to go back to understand what he has said before. Yes, up till this chapter, it was very nice to understand, to explain you students, and it's better writing by my from my view also. Okay, further, but he is sometimes sketchy. For examples, he says, if we can offer no remedy, then other crises and slogans make an appeal to the minds of people. He does not explain what these other crises and slogans are. Similarly, he sometimes makes rather a vague and abstract statements such as his active statement is always limited by the degree of respective of the truth by his fellow men. It means a statement's work depends on how far he is able to convince his fellow man of his truth. But in general, all his writings are marked by his about interest, deep sense of injustice and fairness. He cares not only on for his strong but for other countries and peoples also. Now, yeah, we have finished critical contemporary and how Nehru has Nehru's style of his prose, so that further you can see page number 4.9, 40 summary. Means if you will go through the summary, you will come again the whole chapter what we have read. Okay, and for that I don't think so. You might have get time after my teaching. You can only go to the summary so that in short you will again understand the summary of the lesson of the prose of Nehru. So you please go through it, and it will be better if you will understand instead of reading 2-3 pages. In half a page you can understand the whole chapter. So that will be your home work for your own up till the next class. So for further exercise, I will go 4.10, page number 41. Answer the following questions in about 10 to 150 words with the help of the text, the notes, summary, and the critical contemporary. See, again, they have these are the main question asked in at least at the last and at the first they can ask in the exam. 100 to 150 words means at least you have to use your whole one supplement for finishing your answer, or at least 4 to 5 pages. Mostly a supplement has 8 pages. So in these 100 to 150 words, according to your writing, how long it is, how short it is, you have to be thorough with your answer. How much pages it takes, you have to see for your own this thing, and as much as easy you can answer them correctly in as per given in the notes of the tests using the summary and the critical contemporary. So how does a Nehru feel the necessity of philosopher think to govern the state? Okay, see, again you have to look for the from the first page itself. Try to at least see from the first page to the last page. Where you find the answer, you can make it thorough and write it down for your according to the question. It is easy. Okay, what are Nehru's views about the war? Means wherever in which para there is a war, you can look it for that means of preserving peace. How is the peace brought during those? So long answers, I don't think so. We should, I should try to make you more this thing, so that it will, if you go through by your own, you will complete your lesson by your own. Write a note on Nehru's prose. See the question number 6, as we have recently read before one page Nehru's style. They have asked, write a short note on Nehru's prose style. So up to page number 39, from first line to the last line, you have to see all the points, make them in point pattern, and write them very easily. It is a descriptive and small description is there, so there is no, it is a short note is asked. Okay, now further we will try to complete unit 5 in England as a student. Okay, so up till this 4 chapters we have finished, and going for the 5th chapter. So up till now, mostly directly from the 5th chapter onwards, I will start reading the lesson again, and you have at least come to know what is introduction, content, and all which are to be included during writing your examination. From your exam point of view, the question, you have to see it in how it is asked, sub question, 1 or 2 sentences, or either it is asked in 100 and 150 words. Only this much you have to prepare from this book, so that it will be more easy. I am making you easy to read it, so that it will be more easy to understand it. So please pay attention to page number 42. In England as a student, I passed a matriculation examination in 1887. It is then used to be held at 2 centers, Ahmedabad and Bombay. In general poverty of the country, naturally led Kathiawar student to prefer the nearer and then the cheaper center, and the poverty of my family likewise reacted to men the same choice. This was my first journey anywhere without a companion. My elder wanted me to pursue my studies at college after the matriculation. There was a college in Bhavnagar as well as in Bombay. Bhavna Nagar. No, it's a Bhavnagar. And as the former was cheaper, I decided to go there and join the Samallas College. I went but found myself entirely at sea. Everything was difficult. I could not follow, let one take interest in the professor's lectures. It was no fault of theirs. The professors were in the college were regarded as first rate. But I was so raw at the end of the first term, I returned home. We had a Mavji Dev, who have a shrewd and learned Brahmin, an old friend and advisor of the family. He strongly advised my widowed mother to send me to England for 3 years so that I might become a barrister. He returned to me and asked, would you not rather go to England than study here? Nothing could have been more welcome to see. I was fighting shy of my difficult studies at college. So I jumped at the proposal and said that the sooner I was sent, the better. My elder brother was greatly exercised in his mind. How was he to find the wherewithal to send me, and was it proper to trust a young man like me to go aboard alone? My mother was still more sorely perplexed. She is not like the idea of parting from me. She has begun making minute inquiries. Someone that told her that young men got lost in England. Someone else that said that they took to meet, and yet another that they could not live there without liquor. How about all this? He asked me. I said, will you not trust me? I shall not lie to you. I swear that I shall. not touch any of those things. If if there were any such danger, would Joshi ji let me go? I can trust you here in all natural surroundings, he said. But how can I trust you in a distant land? I am dazzled and how and know that what to do. I will ask Becharji Swami. Becharji Swami was originally a mooned banya, but had now become a Jain monk. He too was a family advisor like Joshiji. He came to my help and said, I shall get the boy solemnly to take the three of vows that then he can be allowed to go. He administered the oath and I vowed not to touch wine, woman, and meat. This done, my mother gave permission. The high school had a send off in my honor. It was an uncommon thing for a young man of Rajkot to the England. I had written out a few words of thanks, but I could scarcely stammer them out. I sailed from Bombay on 4th September 1888. I did not feel at all seasick, but as the day passed, I became nervous. I felt shy even speaking to the steward. I was quite accustomed to talk English, and except for SGT Muzumdar, all the other passengers in the second saloon seemed to be English. I could not speak to them, for I could really follow them when they came up to speak to me, and even when I understood them, I could say nothing in reply. I had no frame every sentence in my mind before I could bring it out. I was innocent of the use of knives and forks and had not the courage to inquire which dishes on the menu were free of meat. I therefore never took my meal at table but always had them in my cabin and then consisted principally of sweet and fruits which I had brought with me. SGT Muzumdar had no difficulty and he mixed with everybody. He would move about freely on deck while I hide myself in the cabin the whole day, only venturing up on deck when there were up but few people. HGT Muzumdar kept pleading with me to associate with the passenger and to talk with them freely. He told me that lawyer should have a longer tongue and related to me his legal experiences. He advised me to take every possible opportunity of talking English and not to mind making mistakes, which were obviously unavoidable with a foreign tongue. But nothing could make me conquer my shyness. An English passenger talking kindly to me drew me into conversation. He was older than he asked me what I ate, what I was, where I was going, why I was shy, and so on. He also advised me to come to tables. He laughed at my instance on abridging meat and said in a friendly way, when he were in the Red Sea, it is all very well so far, but you will have to revise your decision in the Bay of Bikasi. and it is so cold in England that one cannot possibly live there without meat. But I have heard the people, can live there without eating meat. I said, rest assured, it is a fib, said he. No one, to my knowledge, lives there without being a meat eater. Don't see that I am not asking you to take liquor, though I do so. But I do think you should eat meat, for you cannot live without it. I thank you for your kind advice, but I have solemnly promised to my mother not to touch meat, and therefore I cannot think of taking it. If it be found impossible to get on without it, I should rather go back to Indian than eat meat in order to remain there. We entered the Bay of Bikasi, but I did not feel the need either of meat or liquor. He reached Southampton, as far as I remember, on Saturday. On the boat, I had worn a black suit, the white flannel one, which my friends had got me, having been kept especially for wearing when I landed. I had thought that white clothes should be the right thing when I stepped ashore, and therefore I did so it white flannel. Those were in the last days of September, and I found I was the only person wearing such clothes. I felt in charge of an agent, all my kit, including the keys, seeing that many others also had done the same, and feeling I must follow suit. See now, page number 44, check your progress. Answer the following question. Why did Gandhiji join the Samaldas College at Bhavnagar? So for that, you will look for answer, page number page number 52 at the bottom, half leaving one paragraph. 5.8, answer to the check your progress. Samaldas College was at Bhavnagar, nearer home and cheaper, so Gandhiji decided to join it. See, the answer is very clear in one sentence, one and two sentences, so that only you have to make in mind that only two sentences are been added for your answer. Okay. Now, according to this, the further question, you can look and find the answers from there. Answers are ready for you. So please look to the question and further you read the answers. Okay. Now we can stop for the period. Thank you. Okay. बघायचं. 5.3 in England as a student, part 2. I had 4 notes of introduction to Dr. P.J. Mehta, to SJT Dalpatram Shukla, to Princess Ranjit Singh Ji, and to Dadabai Nauroji, the grand old man. Someone on board have advised us to put up at the Victory Hotel in London. SJT Muzumdar and I accordingly went there. The embarrassment of being the only person in white clothes was already too much for me. And when at the hotel, I was told that I should not get my things from the agent the next day. It being a Sunday, I was exasperated. Dr. Mehta, to whom I have ride from Southampton, called at about 8 o'clock the same evening. He gave me a hearty greeting. He smiled at my being in panel. As we were talking, I casually picked up his top hat and trying to see some how smooth it was, passed my hand over it the wrong way and disturbed the fur. Dr. Mehta looked what how angrily at what I was doing and stopped me. But the mischief was done. The incident was a warning for the future. This is my first lesson in European etiquette, into the detail of which Dr. Mehta gently and initiated me. Do not touch other people's things, he said. Do not ask questions as we usually do. In India, on first acquaintances, do not talk loudly. Never address people as sir, whistle, speaking to them as we do in India. Also, servants and subordinates address to their masters that way, and so on and so forth. He also told me that it was very expensive to live in a hotel, and recommended that I should live with a private family. We deferred considering of the matter until Monday. AJT Muzumdar and I found the hotel to be a trying affair. It was also very expensive. There was, however, a Sindhi fellow passenger from Malta who had become friends with SJT Muzumdar and he was not a stranger to London. He offered to find some rooms for further. We agreed, and on Monday, as soon as we got our badges, we paid up our bills and went to the roomer resented for us by the Siddhi friends. I remember my hotel will hotel bill come to over £3, any amount which shocked me. And I had practically starved in spite of his heavy bill, for I could relish nothing. When I did not like one thing, I asked for another, but had to pay for both just the same. The fact is that all this while I had depended on the provision which I have had brought with me from Bombay. I was very uneasy even in the new room. I would continuing continually think of my home and country. My mother's love haunted me. At night, the tear would stream down my cheeks, and some memories of all sorts made a sleep out of the question. It was impossible to share my misery with anyone, and even if I could have done so, where was the use? I knew of nothing that would soothe me. Everything was strange. The people, there was the even their dwelling. I was a complete novice in the matter of English, etiquette, and continually had to be on my guard. There was the additional inconvenience of the Virgiton vow when the dishes that I could eat. I then thought tasteless and inspired. I thus found myself between Cali and Charbidids. England I could not bear, but to return to India was not to be thought of. Now that I had come, I must finish the 3 years, said the inner voice. Mr. Mehta went on Monday to the Victory Hotel, accepting to find me there. He discovered that we had left not our address and me and our Rose. He inspected my rooms and it appointed appointments and shook his head in disapproval. This space won't do, he said. We come to England not so much for the purpose of bookish studies as for gaining experience of English, such life and customs. And for this you need to live with a family. But before you do, I think you that better serve a period of apprenticeship with. I will take you there. I gratefully accepted the suggestion and removed to the friends and removed to the friend's room. He was all kindness and attention. He treated me as his own brother, initiated me into English ways and manners and accustomed me to talking the language. My food, however, became a serious question. I could not relish boiled vegetables cooked without salt or condiment. The landlady was at a loss to know what to prepare for me. We had atta meal prodigy for breakfast, which was fairly filling, but I always straved by lunch and dinner. The friendly continually resigned with me to eat meat, but I always pleaded my woe and then remained silent. Day in and day out, the friend would argue, but I had an internal negative to face him with. The more he argued, the more uncompromising I became. Daily I could pray for God's protection and get it. Not that I had any idea of God. It was faith that was at work. One day, the friend began to read to me Betham's theory of utility. I was at my wits' understand. He began to expound it. I said, "Pray, excuse me. These as abstruse things are beyond me. I admit it may be necessary here to eat meat, but I cannot break my vow. I cannot argue about it. I am sure I cannot meet you in argument, but please give me up a foolish or obstinate. I appreciate your love for me, but I I am helpless. I vow is a vow. I cannot be broken. The friend looked at me in surprise. He closed the book and said, "All right, I will not argue anymore." I was glad he never discussed the subject again. But he did not cease to worry about me. He smoked and drank, but he never asked me to do so. In fact, he asked me to abstain from both. His one anxiety was lest I might become very weak without meat and thus be unable to feel at home in England. Okay, now for this, you can check your progress part 2. Answer the following question in one or two sentences. Why did Gandhiji feel awe in his white flannel suit when he landed from the ship? So again, if we'll go, you can see page number 50, page number 53. You will get the answer for that. Hello. Page number 53. Check your progress. The above second line. When Gandhiji landed in England, it was the month of September and no one had put on white clothes. Gandhiji alone was in the white flannel suit, which made him feel awkward. Okay, so you can look for the questions and accordingly you can see the question number 2, question number 3, 4 and 7. They are given according in the book. In England as a student, part 2, 5.3, page number 44, 16. We have finished this. Page number 45, 5.4, in England as a student, part 3. That is how I served my apprenticeship. Okay, page number 45. That is how I served my apprenticeship for a month. Meanwhile, my friend had devised another way of winning me. His love for me led him to think that if I persisted in my objections to meat eating, I should not only develop a weak constitution, but should return to India an ignorant man because I should never in my of aloofness reap the benefit of the English stay. But decided that I should put him at ease, that I should ensure him that I should be clumsy no more, but try to become polished and make up for my vegetarianism by cultivating other accomplishments which fitted one for polite society. And for this purpose, I undertook the all too impossible task of becoming an English gentleman. The clothes after the Bombay cut that I was wearing were, I thought, unsuitable for English society, and I got new ones at fashionable tailors. I also went in for a silk hat. Not content with this, I wasted 10 pounds on an evening suit made in Bond Street and got my good and noble-hearted brother to send me a doubt watch chain of gold. It was not considered quite correct to wear a ready-made tie, and I learned the art of tying one for myself. In India, the minor and had been a luxury permitted on the day when the family barber gave me a shave. Here I wasted 10 minutes every day before a large mirror watching myself arranging my tie and parting my hair in the correct fashion. My hair was by no means soft and everyday. It met a regular struggle with the brush to keep it in position, which each time the hat was put on and off, the hand would automatically move towards the head to adjust the hair. Not to mention the other civilized habit of the hand, even every now and then operating for the some purpose when sitting in polished society, as if all these were not enough to make me looking the thing. I directed my attention to other details that were supposed to go towards the making of an English gentleman. I had gathered that it would be the proper thing to take lessons in dancing, French, and elocution. French was not only the large of neighboring France, but it was the lingua franca of the continent over which I had a desire to travel. I decided to take dancing lessons at a class and paid down $3 as fee of a term for a term. I I I must have I must have taken about 6 lessons in 3 weeks, but it was beyond me to achieve anything like rhythmic motion. I could not follow the piano and hence found it impossible to keep time. What then was I to do? The reckless in the fable kept a cat to keep off the rats, and then a cow to feed the cat with milk, and a man to keep the cow, and so on. My ambition also grew like the family of the ric- reckless. I thought I should learn to play the violin in order to cultivate an ear of Western music. So I invested $3 in a violin and something more in fees. I sought a third teacher to give me lesson in elocution and paid him a preliminary fee of a gina. He recommended Bella's standard elocutionist at the textbook, which I purchased, and I began with a speech of Pitt's. But Mr. Bell rang the bell of alarm in ear and I woke. I had not to spend a lifetime in England. I said to myself, what then was the issue of learning elocution and how could dancing make a gentleman of man? The violin I could learn even in India. I was a student and thought to go on with my studies. I should qualify myself for the bar. If my character made a gentleman of me, so much the better. Otherwise, I should forego the ambition. These and similar thoughts possessed me, and I expressed them in a letter which I addressed to the elocution teacher, requesting him to excuse me from further lessons. I had taken only two or three. I wrote a similar letter to the dancing teacher and went personally to the violin teacher with a request to dispose of the violin for any price it might fetch. She was friendly to me, so I thought her now. I had discovered that I was pursuing a false